Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Action Center's Where Action Matters special event. We are so glad that you took some time out of your day today to be with us today. My name is John Covert, and I'm the Director of Development at the Action Center, and I'm going to be your host this afternoon. We really hope to take you on a journey today, a journey that moves you and perhaps even inspires you about the mission of the Action Center. We've got a great number of guests that are going to join us today, and I know you're going to really enjoy listening to what they have to say. And like any good fundraising event, we've got a guest goodie bag that will come to you. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as the program continues on. But before we get the program started, we really need to thank our sponsors. Without their support, it simply would not have been possible to do this today. So let's start by thanking our leadership sponsor, St. Anthony Hospital. Thank you for all that you do to make our communities healthy. We also have as a hero sponsor, the Denver Christian School. And again, thank you for what you do to educate our children. We have three wonderful all-star sponsors. We've got First Bank, we've got O'Toole's Garden Centers, and we also have Dorsey Whitney as an all-star sponsor. We have as a pro sponsor, Ewers Architect, and then also a sponsorship for CCIG Insurance. Thank you so much, all of our sponsors, for making today's event a reality. So let's just take a moment. I'd love to share with you two key messages from two key supporters of the Action Center.
Windish RV is a family-owned and operated dealership here in Colorado with 3 locations. At Windish, we help families find the RV that's the right fit for them so they can create memories that last a lifetime. Our goal is to make every Windish customer a lifelong customer by treating them like they're part of our family. As a family business, we keep family at the center of everything we do. And as an active member in the Colorado community, we're proud to support several local groups, including the Action Center. Through their amazing volunteers and staff, the Action Center helps provide resources to individuals and families so that they can fulfill their greatest potential. Windish is proud to support the Action Center because we know they have a proven track record of helping Jeffco families in need.
St. Anthony Hospital is proud to be a longtime partner of the Action Center and its incredible efforts towards eliminating food insecurity since 2018. Food insecurity is linked to a variety of health risks and affects our most vulnerable in our population, including our pediatric population, our elderly population, and our homeless. Centura Health is fully committed to help eradicate food insecurity in our communities throughout Jefferson County.
Thank you again, Windish RV Center, and of course again, St. Anthony Hospitals. We greatly appreciate all your support. So listen, today we'd love to make this event interactive. We want to engage you throughout this event. And so on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat box or chat field. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'd love for you to put your answer in that chat field. So thinking about the Action Center's services, can you share with us what you believe is the most important service that the Action Center provides to our community? The most important service that we provide to our community. And while you're doing that, let me just share with you briefly that the Action Center is a 53-year-old organization. We were started in 1968 by a group of church women who saw a need going unmet in Jefferson County. And they stepped up to the plate, took action, and began providing services, mostly food services, to folks in our community. So let's look at some of the answers that are coming along lines here. Looks like Madison shares with us that food is a primary service, and you're absolutely right. Without a doubt, that is a key program service line of the Action Center. And Amy, you're absolutely correct as well. Rental assistance is very important for the Action Center. And so we'll get a little bit more about those programs and services to you. So thank you for sharing in your chat box. Really appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get our program started. I'm excited to share a lot with you. We want to get to it right away. So the Action Center has 3 brand standards, if you will. They're the pillars upon which everything that we do is based. It's community, it's compassion, and it's connection. And our first guest truly exemplifies connection. And so what I'd like to do is turn this over to Pam Breyer, our Executive Director, who's out with our first special guest. So Pam, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, John. I'm here with Grant Wicklund, who is the President and CEO of SCL Health Lutheran Medical Center. Just thank you so much for being with us today, Grant.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it has been so important to have partners like SCL Health Lutheran Medical to help the Action Center step up to the incredible need in the community this year. It has been so meaningful, and I remember, you know, a few weeks ago you came to the Action Center and you presented us with what was an amazingly generous contribution to help the Action Center step up to that need in terms of meeting the needs of folks who are really struggling to stay housed. And at the time you talked to me about how important it is for partners like us to work together to meet these growing needs. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about how SCL Health thinks about health in the community and why something like rent assistance would be important for your organization to support.
Sure. I can tell you that we really focus on the overall healthy community concept. We're not just there, we are there for you when you need us, but we're not just there for sick care. We want to be there for people before they're sick, and maybe to be able to prevent that by providing things like healthy food, which you know we do or have done before COVID with our food pharmacy, and to provide education. We provide a great deal of education in the community about health, and we get involved with other partners as well that help take care of the community, especially the people who are at risk and have maybe limited access to health care.
That's amazing. You know, I think it's so important to think of health care as, you know, healthy, keeping people healthy and not as sick care. And, you know, certainly helping to keep people in their homes is a way to keep people healthy. We know how dangerous it is to be out on the streets and the kind of challenges that people are facing when that happens. And so your help in stabilizing lives and joining the Action Center in that work is so very important to us. And I just can't thank you enough for that. You know, SCL Health has been a huge provider of vaccines in the community. And one thing you did for us was to come to us and say, you know, we see you as frontline workers and we'd like to make sure your team is vaccinated. And so a little bit ahead of the curve, the Action Center's staff and volunteers were able to get vaccinated. It just, again, speaks to the way that you see yourselves as partners in the community with us trying to be there to serve those in need.
We were happy to do that. And in fact, the Action Center is on the front lines. You are part of the front lines, like the fire and the police. You have to be there for the community in the now. It's not as if you can do it working from home.
Exactly.
And so it's important that you guys could be protected and be there to interact with the community and provide all the services that you do. It's just so important. So we were happy to do that. We were able to do that first and treat or inoculate the fire and the police and you guys and other first responders. And then we actually were able to give shots to 5,000 people in the community that were in a situation where their access to health care was limited and it was difficult for them. And so we reached out to them specifically and made sure that they had an opportunity to get vaccinated.
That's amazing. Well, by doing that, you helped our staff and our volunteers continue to serve our community. In fact, we were able during this time to distribute over $1.7 million of rent assistance in the community and over 2.7 million pounds of food through our food distribution line. And we couldn't have done that if our staff weren't feeling safe and healthy, if our volunteers weren't feeling safe and healthy. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your generosity and for helping us to meet the needs of our participants in the community. We really appreciate you.
Well, we're happy to be partners with the Action Center.
Thank you. And now we'll turn it back to John.
Well, thank you, Pam, and thank you as well, Grant, for all that SCL Health Lutheran Medical Center does every day to help us create a healthy community. It is so appreciated. Well, let's go ahead and take a moment and let's ask you another question. You know, it's hard to believe that this pandemic has been going on for over a year at this point. And so, again, in your chat box, would you take a moment and just type in the number of households that you believe the Action Center has served during these 12 months of COVID. Number of households served during COVID. Love to see what you think that number is. And while you write that in, I'd love to just share with you real quick a very special program that we have at the Action Center. It's called our Mountain Mover program. The Mountain Mover program is a group of wonderful donors who have set up a reoccurring gift that come to the Action Center. And it's on some kind of regular basis. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly, or even annually. But they've created this reoccurring gift that comes to the Action Center, and it really helps us project and plan for the level of services that we can provide to our community each and every day. So Mountain Movers is a great program that's available that your champions will share with you in a little bit. So let's see what people are looking at. Natalie's got 10,000 households. That's a great guess, but it's not quite enough. Paul Miller is sharing with us that he believes it's 25,000 households. Those are all great guesses, but you know, it's actually been over 31,000 households that we've served during COVID. 31,000. It's an amazing number of households that have come to the Action Center. And interestingly, you know, 30% of those have come to us for the very first time. These are households that probably never thought that they would need the services of the Action Center. But fortunately, we've been there for them. We've been able to provide rent assistance. We've been able to provide utility assistance. And of course, yes, we've provided lots of food services for these folks. So speaking of food, here to talk a little bit more about food is Tawny Eisenbraun. She's our communications and marketing manager, and she's with a very special guest named David Bondarchuk. So let's go out to our studios and see what these two are up to.
Thanks, John. You know, we have distributed over 2.7 million pounds of food in the last year. That equates to 30,950 households we've served. And to those households, we provide these pre-packed grocery boxes filled with many of the goods that you see right in front of you. But we're going to come back to that in just a moment. I actually want to take a moment to introduce you to my friend, Chef David Bondarchuk. How are you doing today?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Chef, we have invited you here to our set. What has inspired you to become the culinary artist that you are?
Well, actually, when I was 15, I myself found myself homeless. I was staying at the youth homeless shelter over off of Colfax and Sims, the Gemini House, and every day they gave me bus tokens, and I used those bus tokens to ride the Colfax bus down to Broadway, where I immersed myself in books. One day I discovered Martha Stewart, and I knew that she provided the key to help me live a more beautiful life, and that's what I wanted to do. So I went back to school, I got a job, and I started reading Martha Stewart books, like textbooks, and she really inspired me to launch my own catering business. And since I launched my own catering business, I got to meet Martha Stewart herself.
Wow.
I got to decorate the White House twice. I got to be featured on a Food Network show. I got my own show, and I released a cookbook.
What an amazing story.
And it was all from accident. I didn't say I want to be a chef. It just happened. So,
but
yeah.
You know, it's really powerful to show and talk about how food can make such a difference in anybody and everybody's life.
Absolutely. Food brings people together. Good food.
Good food, all food, but most importantly, the best food.
Right.
And, you know, in front of you today, we do have a wide selection of ingredients. Would you believe me if I told you that everything you see in front of you is something that we would normally distribute to our neighbors in need at the Action Center?
That's amazing. I mean, this is some really good quality food, and there's a lot of people who either can't afford good quality food
right.
or don't have access to it in their food desert, wherever they live. And so this provides so many great essentials for a foundation of a healthy life. This is great.
And that's something that we really strive for at the Action Center, that it's not just a box of canned goods that you're not sure what to do with. We make sure to include those fruits, veggies, proteins. We follow the USDA MyPlate to make sure that everybody's receiving a well-rounded box of nutrition every box that goes out our door. Now,
amazing.
When we talked to you, we challenged you to come up with a recipe.
Oh my gosh, she did. She's like, you need to create a recipe with this stuff. It was like a Food Network challenge.
Well, I hope you're up to the challenge. Now, I've put a lot of the ingredients out, but I've got a few in the box here. Now, Chef, what do you think we're going to make for dinner with what we have in front of us today?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, there is so much food in this box. This could literally create several meals.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the point. So why don't we do a little bit of something like out of the box? So like, let's say you had like, I don't know, the queen herself, Martha Stewart, come to your house. What are you going to serve Martha Stewart for dinner, right? Or maybe just like a girlfriend you're trying to impress, right? So right here, we've got some goat cheese. And what's in this box? What's in this box? Okay, some flatbread and some spinach. Okay, we're gonna do some topped flatbreads. You're gonna have this recipe, but essentially you just take a couple of these flatbreads, bake them in the oven with some sauteed spinach, a little bit of goat cheese. Ooh. If you've got a little bit of butter or lemon zest or red bell pepper, whatever, you can really create this recipe to make it your own. You can create these little flatbread pizzas, which could be a meal or like a light appetizer, and they're really impressive. So I hope you love my recipe. That's what I came up with. What do you think?
I think that sounds amazing. I know Martha Stewart isn't going to be visiting me, so I'm more than happy to eat her share of this wonderful recipe. And like you were saying, Chef, you can make it your own. Like I see some poblano peppers over there.
Right.
Chop some of that up. That could be delicious. Now, Chef, I do have to ask you a very important question. Where can I find you next so that I can come eat some more amazing food of yours?
All right. Well, you can find me on social media. I am the owner of Scratch Catering Services, or you can find me here on the streets of Denver. We launched our new Remix food truck, which is essentially my recipes from TV, my cookbook, and catering remixed into street food. So come find me. It's all from scratch.
I can't wait to come and find you and try out some more amazing food with you. Thank you so much for joining me today and joining our audience here. We appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Right now, we're actually going to turn it back over to John and our board president, LaDawn Sperling. They're going to take a moment to share with you what community means to the Action Center. So back to you, John.
What's up, LaDawn? Get him, John.
David, always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, that guy's a hoot. I want to hang out with him.
He is fantastic. I love David. His food is delicious too.
It is cool. Hey, listen, I'm joined now by LaDawn Sperling, our board president. Welcome, LaDawn.
Thanks, John.
So glad to have you. You know, we've been chatting a little bit about our brand pillars: community, compassion, and connection. We just looked a little bit about connection, but I'd really love to talk to you a little bit about our community. And can you share with us, why is community so important to the Action Center?
Well, community is one of my favorite of our brand pillars because as a residential realtor, I help people find their community.
Right.
So I love that the Action Center is such an integral part of the fabric of the Jefferson County community, and the work we do helps so many people across the county.
Yeah, so important. I love how you say fabric. I mean, we're all part of that. You know, you as a real estate agent for Caldwell Banker, you're part of that fabric. The Action Center is part of that fabric. But tell me a little bit more about how people and how we really connect and how we hook up and engage our community.
It always amazes me, John, how as I'm going about the community, talking to people, it seems like everyone I run into knows someone who volunteers at the Action Center or is a part of something at the Action Center, and they always ask me if I know their friend. And when we're open to the public, when our buildings are open to the public, we have 65 volunteers a day at the Action Center. 65 volunteers a day.
That's a lot.
So there is no way that I would know their friend, but everyone feels very connected to the Action Center, which is just wonderful for our community.
Right. Volunteers are absolutely the lifeblood of the Action Center. They are so important. We just could not serve 31,000 households if it wasn't for our volunteers.
The number of hours the volunteers put in is really amazing.
Right.
And many of them treat it like full-time jobs. It's just really fantastic.
Volunteers are the best. Speaking of volunteers, you as our board president volunteer your time with us.
I do.
And so I know your time as the board president is volunteerism.
It is.
But I also know that you volunteer in other ways for the Action Center. So can you tell us a little bit about why you choose to volunteer and maybe what you volunteer as?
Sure. I choose the Action Center because I really believe in giving people a hand up when they're in need. And a situation that brings someone to the Action Center could really happen to anyone. And we really saw that during COVID. During the stay at home, I had an opportunity to volunteer handing out food. When I was told to stay at home, I don't stay at home well.
Yeah.
And so I realized the Action Center is essential. So I signed up for volunteer shifts so I could get out and about. And it was really amazing to see the things that we were doing at the Action Center. Another thing that I've done for more than 10 years, I've had an annual Thanksgiving food drive.
Wow, great.
And it started with just my book club, and then it expanded to a few streets in my neighborhood. And now that I sell real estate, I get all of my clients involved and collect food from them, and we get together and pack Thanksgiving boxes. Wow. So I think donation drives are a wonderful way to get involved with the Action Center.
Right. Do you do just food, or is there other ways to do drives?
I pretty much focus on food, but I know people have been very successful with hygiene drives.
Right.
We always need hygiene items. We need diapers. So you can just focus your event on one thing and have a great time doing it.
Great. Well, I think we have a video that kind of shows people what drives look like. Should we show that?
We should show it,
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and roll that video.
I'm Paul Miller. I'm from Concordia Lutheran Church in Lakewood. And part of Concordia's mission is really to care for those that are less fortunate than us. And part of that mission is really to be in the community and to make a difference in the community and bring about positive change. But one of the things that's really important to us is doing the community drives. And the community drives really help in a couple of different ways. One is they really help us focus on a specific goal. We can really rally around that goal and bring a lot of resources and a lot of people to bear on that. And it's fun to achieve that goal. It's important to the Action Center because, number one, they get a lot of the material needs that they need in order to service and help those in our community. And the Action Center is a wonderful place to really plug in and to be able to be a conduit to help those in our community. And you can do this at any level. You can do it as a family, you can do it as a community, you can do it as a community of faith, you can do it as a service organization, and you can do it at almost any level to really help the specific needs that you have. And it just really makes us feel good to be able to chip in and help.
Well, it looks like drives are a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. Several of my friends did drives this past year, and they had a great time.
Oh my gosh, looks like you get a lot of people together. It's just a real fun vibe going on.
Yes, and for anyone who wants to do a drive, I'm always happy to help them.
Excellent. Well, listen, LaDon, we're trying to make this very interactive, and so we want to engage our audience today. So can you ask them another question?
I would love to ask a question. So my question is, how many pounds of food do you think the Action Center distributed since March of 2020? Put your answer in the chat box on the right. And while you do that, I'm going to tell you about a special group of donors called the Self-Sufficiency Society. This is a group of donors who make a multi-year commitment to the Action Center. It can be between 3 and 5 years, and it's a minimum contribution of $1,000 a year. But of course, you can increase that as high as you like. We always will take an increase in that. And these are the donors we really count on year over year to know what our budget is going to be and how can we expand our services. So these donors are so important to the Action Center. And you'll hear more about that with your champions in the champion room. But I really hope that some of you will be consider joining me as a Self-Sufficiency Society member.
Great. Well, let's see what they think the number of pounds of food are.
I know, 2.5 million.
Wow.
1 million.
Yeah. These are great guesses.
2 million. Yeah, Marianne says 3 million.
Yep. Sure.
Josh says 30 tons.
Great, Josh. Thank you. So what do you think the answer is?
I don't know the answer, John.
I'm so glad you asked me. It's 2.7 million pounds.
Wow, I think someone had that right, too. I think I saw that there. I think Paul Miller might have cheated.
Yeah, I think somebody's watching and looking at the infographic that we put out every month.
I think he was paying attention, yes.
Good man. Thank you, Paul. Well, listen, speaking of great volunteers, you're a great volunteer.
Thanks, John.
We really love having you, and we appreciate so much what you do as our board president. So thanks. You. Well, listen, speaking of our volunteers, I believe Tani is out in our studio again.
She is.
With another really great volunteer. And so let's go ahead and head out back to Tani, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Thanks, John. It's incredible that we have given out over 2.7 million pounds of food since COVID began. It takes thousands of hands to make that possible, and one such set of hands belongs to my friend Nancy. Now, Nancy has been a volunteer at the Action Center for many years, dedicating over 1,047 hours of her time to the Action Center, for which we're so appreciative. But Nancy, I have to ask, what motivates you to give this much of your time to the Action Center?
It's the participants that I meet, and Tani, I'd really like to just tell you about one of those participants, because this young man really touched my life. 26 years old, came in, said to me, I'm living on the streets and I could use some help. And I began to talk. He had only the clothes on his back, so we could help him with clothing. He was living on the street, so we needed to address his needs as far as food and how could we make it portable, usable immediately, including a can opener, which he hadn't thought of. And the more we talked, the more I realized that he was recovering, had moved from Denver to Jeffco, so we got him hooked up with Narcotics Anonymous meetings. We got him a phone number for Jeffco Mental Health and for the Stride Clinic. And then I said to him, what would make your life better? Would a shower make you feel better? And it's been a long time since I've seen a young man cry. And this young person looked at me and just with tears said, I could get a shower. I said, would you like soap and a towel too? So he was just giddy when he left, because his dignity was going to be replaced with that sense of hopelessness that he came in. He had clothing, he had food, and he had a chance to feel like a human being again. And he will forever be in my heart. You know, I'm an educator. I worked with high school students. This could have been any of the students that I spent my career with.
Oh, it's such a touching story. Thank you for sharing, Nancy. I think, you know, it's not often that you can feel that direct impact in your day-to-day, and I would imagine it's easy to say that the Action Center has had an impact on you.
It has opened up my ability to see people with compassion. I've always felt that I was compassionate and that I cared for people, but everyone that I meet at the Action Center, everybody who comes there, comes because they need help. And none of the people I've ever worked with really set out in their life to be in a position where they were without a home, that they had grandchildren they couldn't feed, that they had lost their job and were now living with their children in their car. That's not the goals that they set out with. So that compassion and my ability to offer them respect and kindness and let them know that I value them as a person really has made my world a happier and more enriched place, for sure.
Oh, what an amazing impact. When you leave the Action Center after a shift, how do you feel?
Gratitude for my life, but more than that, gratitude that I could help somebody and help them immediately. Not in the future, but what can I do for today to make this person's life better so that they feel better about themselves. And it's why I go back week after week.
And we love having you back week after week. And I think that Nancy's story is just one of many that we hear from the Action Center, we hear from our participants, and it is this kind of compassion and caring that does make a difference in the lives of those we serve, and it is a main pillar of how the Action Center operates. So we're going to turn it back to John and Pam now, and they're going to share with you a little bit more about what compassion means to the Action Center. Nancy, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tani, and thank you very much, Nancy, for what you do every day as a volunteer at the Action Center. We so appreciate you. So I'm joined now by Pam Breyer, our Executive Director. Welcome, Pam, to the studio.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here.
Really appreciate you being here. So again, Pam, we've been talking about the brand pillars of the Action Center, our community, our compassion, and our connection.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to do a little deeper dive with you and talk a little bit about compassion. And so, you know, compassion is defined as really recognizing suffering in our community and then taking action to help that suffering.
Absolutely.
It's a real tangible expression of our love and our care for others that are going through suffering. But I know that compassion is more than just a definition at the Action Center. It really is a value that we live out every single day. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about why is compassion this super important part of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Compassion is so much more than a definition, right. So much more than words. At the Action Center, compassion is really the air we breathe. And Nancy's interview was just amazing because she is a living, breathing example of compassion in action at the Action Center. And it's what we do every day for our participants. It helps them to feel welcome and to feel seen. And, that runs deep in the Action Center's roots. As you said, we're 53 years old. And those who founded the Action Center really founded the Action Center because of that compassion driving them to respond to an urgent need in the community. And nothing has changed about that. It is in our blood. It is what we do every day. The reason that I think it's easy for people like Nancy, for our other volunteers and our staff to act compassionately is because really it's so easy to imagine ourselves in the position of folks who are struggling. Each one of us is really just one breath away, one moment away from our own hardship, and having that understanding makes it easy to respond in a way that helps people to feel like they're in the right place, that they're not being judged, that they're seen, and that they're heard. And that's really what is transformational for folks who come to the Action Center every day, and that's why we are here doing what we do.
Yeah, so important, respect, dignity, all those things. But sometimes for me, I find it hard to ask for help sometimes. In our society today, our culture, it's about self-reliance and independence and, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Absolutely.
So it can be difficult to ask for help.
Yeah, it sure can.
And so could you share with me a little bit more about how is compassion played out at the Action Center? How do we show that compassion to the community?
Well, you're so right, John. It is really hard to ask for help. So many of us are prideful people, and we want to be able to provide for ourselves and our families. And we've seen that throughout COVID. We've had, as you said, 30% of the folks coming to us during COVID have been brand new. And for many of them, then it's the first time they've had to ask for help.
Right.
And we've seen how hard that is. And they tell us how hard it is. They drive up in the car and they say, I'm here for food. I've never had to do this before. I'm feeling nervous. I'm wondering if I should even be here, or if the person, behind me in the next car maybe needs it so much more than I do. And all we do is say, no, you're in the right place. That's why the Action Center's here. We want to be here for you. And COVID has been so hard for so many people. In a lot of ways, it's been sort of the great equalizer, right? Because you didn't know whether you were going to be sick. So many people, regardless of their job title or their zip code, found themselves without a job, found themselves facing financial hardship or hardship in terms of their own physical health. And so, to be able to be there and to say it's okay to ask for help has just been so important. And I think we have a story from one of our participants who was one of those people who had to ask for help from the Action Center for the very first time. And I would love to share her story with our audience.
Great, let's do that.
Okay.
Best part about being a mom is being able to provide for my children and give them the necessities that they need in life. Financially, emotionally, physically, mentally, I'm able to provide for my children through all kinds of ways. So when the pandemic happened, I had lost my job. I was at a job for 3 years at a hotel, guest service agent. The hotel closed down, shut down, and I moved to a low-income housing place. I felt lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to look to. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my job. I was scared because my biggest fear is not being able to provide for my children. Thank God I got into the place that I got into within a reasonable time frame, and Family Homestead told me about the Action Center. The first thing I was seeking was food. I was having a hard time being able to provide food for my children. I came and it was a very simple process. I was treated great. I mean, people smile, they interact with you. At the time I was searching for a job. I still am searching for a job, and they helped me with my rent. So that was another burden that was uplifted off of me that I'm really grateful for. I'm not constantly worried and stressing about where I'm going to get money to pay my bills or where I'm going to get money to put food in my kids' mouths. I can actually be there for them emotionally and physically and not have to stress and worry because, you know, when you're a mom and you don't have the things, the necessities for your children, you tend to stress and your kids see you stress and they feel you stress. And I was able to be there for them emotionally and without having to worry. So sometimes it's hard for us when we have to ask for help. A lot of people don't like to ask for help. And I was one of those people. I didn't want to ask for anything because I felt like I needed to get it on my own. But I had to humble myself and I had to know that there's people out there who are really genuine about helping other people and really want to see people get on their feet. I'm excited about just starting over and new opportunities and just being able to be comfortable and not have to worry. I'm just very appreciative of the Action Center and what they did for me in my current situation and my previous situation. And I'm just grateful to know that they're here to help me whenever I need help. And, you know, they don't judge you. They don't shun you or look down on you. They help you to the best of their ability. And I'm happy that they're there for other people. And I want to see other people get help as well if they need it.
Wow, you know, Pam, that story, I've seen it several times now, this video, and it really, truly touches me personally in a profound way. And I got to tell you, I'm so proud, so glad that we were able to be there for Janelle.
Absolutely. Janelle's story is really touching, and I think, you know, the thing that really got me, I had to kind of choke back the tears a little bit, was, you know, her talking about motherhood and, you know, how important it is as a mom to know that you can provide for your children and how frightening it can be when something, you know, gets in the way of that, something really throws you off course and you're wondering where the next meal is going to come from. I really can relate to that as a mom, and I'm just so glad that Janelle found us and that we were able to be there for her in that way and with the rent assistance. I appreciate her sharing her story with us too. Yeah,
pretty amazing. You know, it's interesting, you know, that this level of compassion for our participants, it really wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for donors.
Absolutely.
And our donors it's interesting because they're part of that fabric of our community, but it's that fabric that's creating the compassion that enables us to do what we do every day. Yeah. They are so important, and so...
Absolutely, we would not be here without, you know, so many of the folks who are here today watching, and so many more that we haven't had time to mention, but without the support of the community, you know, the Action Center just couldn't do what we do.
Right, yeah. Thank you, everybody acts compassionately. What a great world we'd live in if everybody acted with compassion.
Absolutely.
So, well, let's, would you take some time real quick, Pam, and would you introduce our last guest speaker to us?
I'd love to, John. You know, this last guest that we have today is just such a good example of someone in our community who has stepped up both personally and from her in her professional life. And I'd love to introduce Antoinette Gawin. She is the CEO of Terumo Blood and Cell Technologies, and she's here with us today to share a little bit about her story and why she supports the Action Center. So take it away, Antoinette.
Thank you, Pam, and thanks to your team for their leadership in the community. My name is Antoinette Gawin, and I am the CEO of Terumo Blood and Cell Technologies. We are right here in Lakewood, and we make the equipment that collects and separates blood and cells. So during COVID, if you've heard about convalescent plasma, or you've ever been solicited to donate blood, that's our gig. And as a corporation, we support the Action Center because we feel an obligation to serve our community. And around the world, we are actively engaged in the communities in which we operate. A healthy, strong community makes for good business and good everything. I personally support the Action Center because I understand what it takes and what it feels like to not know what to do and to maybe not have the financial resources to move something forward. I grew up in a small town in northern Michigan where very few people went to college and people lived hand to mouth, the children of immigrants. And I would not have gone to college, and I would not be the CEO of a corporation today if someone hadn't helped me with $200 to open a bank account to go to college, and other people to help guide me through what it was supposed to be like and what I should expect. So we all need help along the way. And this is a chance for you to help. A little bit goes a long way and can change a life. I'm inspired by the 7 donors today who have already pledged $64,000 and are challenging us to match that. I will personally add in another $10,000 to that match in the first $10,000 that comes in the door here. So I ask you to make a commitment. For some folks, it's easier to make a one-time donation. I like that, so I don't have to think about it. Other people prefer to get $5 taken out a week or a month or whatever you can afford. There's a lot of ways to make a gift, and your Action Center champion can explain them to you. So right now, please join your center champion in a private breakout room. On the left side of your screen, you'll see that champion. So click on that link, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. So signing off, Action Center Antoinette, thank you for your support.
Wow, I cannot believe that surprise contribution from Antoinette leading into the breakout rooms, John.
That was amazing.
Amazing $10,000 surprise challenge.
Yep, gave me goosebumps just watching it.
Thank you, Antoinette, and thank you so much to all of you for being with us today and for making your contributions and for all that you do for the Action Center throughout the year. It's amazing. We couldn't do it without you. We are just so grateful. Appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of quick thank yous as well. We want to also thank Colorado Arts Production. I wish you could see what I see on the other side of this screen. There's like 9 people running cameras and teleprompters and all kinds of other gizmos. It wouldn't have been possible without the incredible professional services that they're offering to help us produce this. But I'd also be amiss if I didn't thank the Action Center development staff. Yeah. They've just done an amazing job at helping us put this all together, especially Tawny Eisenbraun. She's our marketing and communications manager, and she is amazing. So thank you, Tawny. Thank you so much, Action Center staff.
Well, yeah, and the whole staff that have pushed through this challenging year. It has been such a challenging year for everyone in the country, and at the Action Center that was no exception, and our staff really rose to the occasion. The volunteers have been amazing, and all of that is really only possible because of all of the members of the community that have been here helping us throughout this time. So thank you all again so much for being here. Without your help, we couldn't do the work we do every day to stabilize lives and to help create lasting change for the folks in our community who need it the most. Thank you so much for being with us. We really can't wait to see you back at the Action Center.
All right, and lastly, just as I promised, we have a guest goodie bag that will be coming to you. So look in your email, keep an eye on your email. We'll send you out a gift bag. It's going to be a digital gift bag, so you'll be able to click on a lot of different links and get a lot of cool things. And then also attached to that will be a link that will lead you to the recording of this event. We would love for you to share this out on your social media or email to a friend who wasn't able to be with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, folks.
Have a good day.
Everyone's friendly and so kind. We're treated with dignity and respect. We wouldn't have survived if we weren't for this place.
Yeah, this place is amazing.
And we thank you from the bottom of our heart for all the things you've done for us.
It's been a lifesaver, I would say.
And thank you guys so much for everything.
You're welcome.
You guys, thanks. Have a nice day.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
guys.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
Thank you.
We're all very grateful for this.